Plot-based gardens is the most common type of community garden in Hamilton that is run by a community group where plots of it are available for rent by individuals or families to garden, plan, manage, and harvest. On average, there are about 20 plots per garden, and the cost per plot ranges from free up to $80 for a season, but typically between $30 to $60. Communal gardens have a group of members that share the responsibility of planning, managing, and harvesting a communal garden. There are currently 5 in Hamilton. There is often an honor system where each gardener is encouraged to take his or her share.
Donation or victory gardens is the idea of giving without expecting anything in return. Volunteers maintain the garden, and the food is donated to food banks and hot meal programs. There are currently 7 victory gardens in Hamilton. Youth and school gardens encourage children to participate in gardening. There are currently 6 gardens in Hamilton.
Allotment is a garden that is managed by a government group where plots can be rented out. This is currently not run in Hamilton, but is common in Europe. Plots are divided independently and maintained by an assigned gardener to provide garden space to individuals and community organizations that may not have access to it at home. More seasoned gardeners may appreciate this environment as it provides the freedom to experiment and opportunity to share ideas with other gardeners. Therapy gardens focus on the therapeutic value of plants, such as perennial gardens, because of the various textures the flowers give off. Demonstration garden is intended to be for learning purposes where individuals are taught through demonstration and how to garden. For example, Hamilton Community Gardening Network offers gardening workshops.
We're so disconnected from our food, and kids grow up thinking that food just comes from the grocery store. And so, to me, community gardens are this really cool nexus of all of these environmental, community, sustainability, and all of these different components coming together.
And it's where they're able to engage and talk to one another, ones that they would never know had there been no community garden to begin with.
The community garden in Barton Street. The plot used to be vacant and criminal activity used to happen there, and Barton Street is kind of a little bit desolate within Hamilton. Not in the sense that nobody lives there, but in the sense that it doesn't foster good energy. So they made this community garden. It was on box plots, so they didn't have to dig up the soil because the soil definitely wasn't usable. But after they did that, the community came together and protected the garden. So they participated in upkeep and weeds. They also did a bunch with cooking better, because most of low-income families don't really get the chance to have vegetables, fresh vegetables even at that. So they got the chance to learn how to cook them, learn how to use them. So there's workshops for them. It became a part of their community, something that they were proud of. So something that brought in negativity was turned into something that brought the community together just because of the garden. And it also brought in health too. So community garden to me means it brings a community together over something that everyone can be proud of. And it definitely creates more connections. And that's kind of what a community needs. It needs to have connections.
Benefits from a community garden can include things like how everyone's able to come together and they have some sort of ownership and pride that they're growing their own food. So it really gets a community active and physically active. And again, it's about that community empowerment and engagement that they get from each other.
Essentially what this garden is to bring the McMaster campus together to make people realize, at least students realize, that there's more to food than just what you can buy from a convenience store, from McMaster, or even from the grocery store. You can definitely grow your own things, even on the windowsill. So what we've done as student success leaders is try to make this area more accessible to the students on campus. So we're trying to remove the stigma of this being someone else's place and more of this being McMaster's place. So if you go to McMaster, even if you don't go to McMaster, you can take from the garden as long as you give back to the garden.
So my name's Russ Ort, and I'm a farmer with Backyard Harvest. And Backyard Harvest is an urban farm that is going into its 7th season this year in 2015. We grow food in, at this point, about 8 large backyards, about the size of this one here, as well as one sort of peri-urban plot just on the edge of town that's an institutional property. So we grow a wide variety of vegetables, I think 60, 70 different varieties of vegetables. And the idea being that we grow the food here in the neighborhood with the idea of feeding the people that live here in the neighborhood. So we want that the food is not traveling so far, that it's really fresh, and also that we have an opportunity, I think, with the food as a vehicle to form closer relationships with one another as people who live in this place. My first sort of start into this whole thing, I grew up in a suburban neighborhood, and I felt very disconnected from people. And as a teenager, I mowed lawns for a living, so I was, you know, burning all of this gas to cut this grass, and I wasn't sure quite, at a certain point, I wasn't quite sure why I was doing that. And then soon afterwards, I had, you know, this eureka moment, realizing that actually food could be grown on this land. So that was a long time ago. And I went out to farms sort of looking for both of those things, looking for more of a connection with other people, looking for ways to live where people weren't so isolated from one another, and also to learn how to grow food and anchor myself with a firm grounding. I guess I was feeling a little bit too cerebral in a university setting. So fast forward many years after working on a lot of different farms, and we live here down in the lower west side of Hamilton. And one of the first things we did when we got to the property was to start a garden in between the sidewalk and our house. And I was really excited about doing that. We had full sun there, but also what started happening once we started to grow things, I had a lot of people stopping, asking what I was doing, talking about food. So I guess I found out through that you know, that's something that we all share in common. We all eat, and so it's a great vehicle to actually get people to talk with one another. So I ended up meeting a lot of people in this neighborhood that was now 10 years ago through having started that side yard garden or front yard garden. So that's one way that food can bring people together. So one of the ways that we market our food is through something called a CSA. So that's a community shared or community supported agriculture program. So we have about 35 families that come to our backyard every week through the summer months and into the fall, and because they want to buy this ultra local and organically grown food. So that's also an opportunity for them to get to know their farmer and the person the people that are growing their food, and also the other people in their neighborhood that care about the same sort of thing. So it's another sort of point of contact that people have, especially. I think it's especially vital in this age of a lot of looking at screens and not so much looking in people's faces. And so I think we can use a lot more of that kind of thing. So I'm happy when people come on Tuesday night and come and pick up their vegetables and play in the sandbox a little bit.